With a public hearing. With that, I'd like to open the public hearing for the County Line Solar by RPIL Solar 12 LLC annexation agreement. I do ask for a motion for this to be continued to February. With that, I need a. What was the date? I'm sorry, Claire. February 11th?
Yes.
Motion to continue to February 11th.
Second. Motion by Amos, second by Carol. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Question, Mayor, is this coming back to planning and zoning?
Yes.
This will, yes.
The county line solar will?
Yeah.
Our first meeting, or our meeting in February?
Now,
Yes.
is that going back to, from February, P and Z?
Yes, the applicant identified a variance that they neglected to request, so they're gonna go back to the PCC for, the variance request, and then, wrap it all together and come back to the village board.
Okay.
All right, so we closed the county line public hearing. With that, we will open the public hearing for Cal Atlantic Group LLC, Lennar's annexation agreement, amendment and development agreement for Town Center 2.
Thank you. We have a presentation later in the meeting on this, but basically it is a 139 unit single family development going to Town Center 2, north of Jefferson and north of the Hamptons project and east of Whinstone. They are planning to bring in 6 models of home ranging from 1,866 square feet to 2,907 square feet. The annexation agreement lays out the foundation for the development. It also has several references to the PUD, which we'll present later on in the meeting. One thing that is unique is that because Lennar Cal Atlantic has requested this and they have not closed on the property, the ordinances will go into effect at such time as they close on the property, provided this is approved.
And with that, is there anybody from the public wishing to speak to the village board regarding this public hearing? Seeing none, motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. Motion Amos, second Carol, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Public hearing has been closed. With that, we'll move into this evening's regular village board meeting for January 14th, 2025. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold.
Here.
Trustees Amos.
Here.
Brockman.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Chapman. Luciano.
Here.
And Selfridge.
Here.
All right, the village board is here. We do have enough to run a quorum. Is there anybody wishing to move into our citizens? Is there anybody wishing to address the village board this evening? And if you would, just please state your name for the record, sir.
Okay, my name is Michael Savarese. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Full Steam Staffing. Here in Illinois, we're known as Joliet Staffing. We currently have a branch office located in Minooka, Illinois, and I'm looking to move that to Shorewood. This is a better market for us, a more thriving market with more applicants, a larger applicant pool. Our office hours are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I'd like to give you guys some data of what that office operates at on a daily basis, kind of what the volume is, because I know that is typically a concern when it comes to staffing agencies. But I have actual data from January 1st of 2024 to December 29th of 24. We took in 462 applicants. 462 people in an entire year came into our office and filled out an application. So you're averaging, we're not open on weekends, we're an 8 to 5, again, 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. We average about 2 people a day. That's how we're built, that's how our company's runs on a regular basis. The candidates, of those 462, we actually placed about 248 people. We're selective about the people that we place at our organization. The candidates that they complete their applications online on their mobile devices, we pay thousands of dollars so that that application is optimized for a mobile device. That's what everybody does today. They fill out their applications online. The recruiters that work in the office, and I have two, will determine, they'll get a notification, they determine if that applicant's worth an interview based on their work history. If they have the experience we're looking for, they'll have them come in. I have 4 kiosks in my office, and that's it. They'll assign them to a kiosk. They conduct an interview, then they put them at a kiosk. If they determine they're gonna hire them, they'll fill out their tax forms, the direct deposits, insurance information, all that information. Then they'll sit back down with the recruiter. The recruiter goes through their documentation, onboards them, just like all of us when we get a job. There's I-9 documentation and such. And then they're sent home. After that, they're sent home. I don't place people when they walk in the door at my office. That doesn't work like that. We're not a day labor service. We don't compete with that type of business. The people will then, the recruiters then in the branch will determine based on, they'll review the application, review the documentation they have in front of them, and determine if that's somebody that they have an opening for. And if they do, they contact that person and place them at work. Again, with an average of 2 applicants a day, we're not competing with day labor services. We're not a high volume staffing agency. We do not have large groups that congregate in front of our offices. And that's really it. That's all I had. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I really do appreciate it. And I hope you guys allow us to be a part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, just please state your name for the records.
Good evening. My name is Nash Shaw, and my company, NPV Shorewood, owns the Hamel Creek Shopping Center. First of all, I thank you for this opportunity to address this board and contribute to this important discussion. As representatives of the people of Shorewood, the trustees, Mr. Mayor, and the staff, your dedication to our welfare in Shorewood is commendable. Thank you. The Citizens Forum that I'm speaking at right now is a vital part of that process. So tonight, I'd just like to offer, as Mr. Saravesi did, just another perspective to inform you before you consider item 6 on your agenda tonight. That item is basically a vote on a recommendation by the Shorewood Planning and Zoning Commission, an unanimous recommendation for a minor textual change to the B1 zoning. This ordinance, or this B1 zoning ordinance, governs our Hamel Creek Commons Shopping Center, which currently hosts offices focused on the personal well-being of a lot of people in our community. For example, we are allowed offices, the zoning code, and I'm sure you all know this, offices-business or professional, medical, or dental. We have Edward Jones, which happens to be a financial investment firm that cares about people's savings and helps them with their welfare for saving for their retirement. We have a chiropractic office, Restoration Chiropractic, that helps people's health well-being. We also have a medical practice, which is currently changing ownership, that obviously has a doctor and takes care of people's physical well-being. So why are we here? My understanding is that if you look at the B1 as it's written today, it can allow this business office to operate. However, because B2, which is above us, specifically calls out employment agencies, not the outplacement services that Mr. Saravesi just described, but because it calls it out, the staff cannot issue a license for this business to operate. So, because of that, like if this was a real estate office, hypothetically, no problems, because it's not called out in B2. So I just wanted to make that clarification. Look, why would I understand you may look at me as just a business person trying to get more money. That's not why. I'm going to tell you personally from my heart a story. I was laid off from McDonald's Corporation. I was a senior director there, and I'm not doing this to brag or anything. I was a senior director there making well over 6 figures. I was part of a layoff.
You've hit your 3 minutes, can you kind of close up?
Yep. And during that time, besides my severance, I was given outplacement services. I looked up a job on, jobs online, LinkedIn, Indeed, and through an outplacement firm that operates in this kind of business model, I was able to get a job. We have other prospects for that space, but we want this one because it's going to create jobs and help people. Can you imagine that if we were able to get, he mentioned 250 people got jobs. The other thing I do want to leave you with is that in 1997, when this code was written, there weren't cell phones. Okay, the internet was in its infancy. 18% of the people had cell phones. Only 36% of the people had computers at home. Right now, this is being live streamed. That technology wasn't there. Why do I bring this up? It's not just trivia. It's because the operating model that Mr. Cervasi just described was not feasible in 1997. So we just ask that you please give consideration and vote yes, so that we can help create people jobs. And also, please support the Planning Commission's recommendation. Thank you so much. God bless you, and may God bless the village of Shorewood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else under citizens wishing to address the village board this evening? Seeing none, move into this evening's consent agenda. Item number 1, the approval of the regular meeting minutes for December 10th of 2024. Item 2 will be approval of the special committee of the whole meeting minutes for December 10th, 2024. 3 will be approval of accounts payable in the amount of $1,284,097.96. Item 4 is approval of a payment in the amount of $121,975 to Water Well Solutions for the Filter Media Change Project. Item 5 is approval of a payment in the amount of $20,141 to Champion Drywall for the Police Department exterior repair. Item 6 would be approval of the payment in the amount of $15,642.65 to Holiday Sewer and Water Construction for the 2024 Valencia Linwood Water Main Replacement Project. Item 7 will be approval of the payment in the amount of $22,584.14 to Arbortech for the 2024-2025 Winter Pruning Program. And item 8 will be approval of the payment in the amount of $17,439.03 to the Will County Governmental League for the 2025 membership dues. Are there any items the board member has any questions or need any further clarifications?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion, trustee Amos. I apologize. Trustee Luciano, I apologize.
Second.
Second, trustee Chapman. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right, consent agenda's been approved. Moving on to reports of communications. Ron, is there anything that you have received prior to this evening's meeting?
No, sir.
Thank you. I have nothing at this time. So moving into our order of business for this evening. Business item number 1 will be a consideration for approval of reappointments to the Police Pension Board, Paul Hertzman for a 2-year term and Chris Dre for a 1-year term. Both of these folks have served on our Police Pension Board. These are just reappointments, both obviously Shorewood residents. Unless anybody has any questions. Kind of just formality on this one. If not, I'll take a motion for the reappointments.
I'll make a motion for the reappointments to the Police Pension Board of Paul Hertzman for 2-year term and Chris Dre for a 1-year term.
Motion Selfridge.
Second.
Second Carroll. Roll call.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
Business item number 2 will be consideration for an approval of an ordinance approving and authorizing an amendment of annexation agreement and development agreement for the Town Center 2. This project is up for first read. This is going to be covered by council and Ms. Henkel.
Thank you. Town Center 2, we're all familiar with, is between Town Center 1 and Fox Bend. They are planning 139 single-family units. There are 3 ponds. There is a large pond at the south end of the property that's to serve most of Town Center 2, as well as parts of the Hamptons and Granite projects. There are also 2 little ponds at the north. Lennar is responsible for designing all of the ponds. They are not responsible for building the portion of the ponds that will be serving the Hamptons and the Granite property, but they will work with them to see if they can get that all done at the same time. As part of this, we're actually going to continue the bike path that goes from Windstone and River all the way through the town center, because it'll go along the north side of their pond. They've got their site plan. If you look at this is actually north is pointing to the right, so it looks a little bit lopsided. But they've got full streets with our typical cross-section, 28-foot pavement, 31-foot back-to-back going through the subdivision, a little bit wider on Windstone because it'll be a bigger street. Each of the internal streets has 5-foot sidewalks on either side. Windstone will have a 10-foot multi-use path. This shows it a little bit closer. They'll be using the typical village decorative street poles that we see throughout the town center, throughout their development. The project is fully landscaped as we'd expect the subdivision to be. They have parkway trees in front of every house, 3 parkway trees on every corner lot. There'll be a landscape buffer, common ownership provided along Windstone. They have landscaping around their pond area, which will include native plantings, and they'll also put some informational signs up along the pond to bring people's attention to that. Every lot will also be landscaped. This is a sample of, what one of the houses will be, but it'll have like an ornamental tree, some shrubs, some grasses, and perennials. So everyone will be, they'll be a little bit different. They'll have different packages, but every house will have some landscaping in front of it. They are planning a subdivision sign as you go into the subdivision. This will be at Windstone and Peyton, and that is also landscaped as well. They've got 6 models that they've proposed with 3 elevations of each model. They range from 1866 square feet to 2907 square feet. All the houses have 2 or 3 car garages. They all have full basements. They all have a covered stoop or a full porch. All units have some masonry, be it a panel of masonry, have 50% masonry, a wainscot. They all have some masonry. Vinyl siding would be permitted, as well as hardy plank that would be offered as an option. So they expect the majority, if not all of the subdivision, to have some vinyl siding. They are requesting approval of the elevations, so that way you can see all of the elevations that are being approved. Very little changes will be able to be made. If people want to add some extra architectural trim, we've proposed that staff have the ability to approve that, but other than that, any changes they wanted to make would have to come back to the board. And one of the things I did mention is we have the annexation agreement before you. We'll clarify the language in the section about the things that can be approved by staff to include the fact that it can only be enhancements to the architecture as opposed to any reductions in standards. You've seen these elevations before, so I'll just blaze through them. This is the smallest model. It's the Sienna. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch with a 2-car garage or a 3-car option. This is the Ontario. This is the smallest of the 2-story models. It's 2,152 square feet, 3 or 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. This is the Ridgefield. This is the larger of the ranch models with a 3-car garage, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. The Brooklyn is one of the 2-story models, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 2-car garage with a 3-car option. This is one of the larger ones, the Galveston. It's a 3-car garage, 2,612 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom house. And this is the Raleigh, 2,907 square feet, 2-story with 4 or 5 bedrooms and a 2.5 bathrooms. If you want me to go through any of those in more detail, let me know. I know you've seen them before, so I didn't want to take too much time on that. There are all the elevations that are in the packet for approval, but they are some extra standards for through lots, which back to a street, or corner lots, which we call key lots. All 3 lots have to have shutters and window grids on the back. All key lots, on the corner lots, have to have some brick on the side. And then there's one lucky winner of the lot that's both a key lot and a through lot, so they'll have to have all of those details on it. They're planning to allow 5-foot tall fences. They can be either vinyl, aluminum, or the wrought iron type fences. Only in-ground swimming pools will be allowed, and no other detached accessory structures like sheds and whatnot. These are some sample interiors that Lennar provided for us to give you an idea of what the finishes will be like. And here is a sample lot. They're pretty standard requirements for the lots. There's a 25-foot front yard setbacks, 7-foot side yard setbacks, and 30-foot rear yard setbacks. Typical 75% maximum lot coverage, which they're unlikely to hit. They will all have pavers or concrete driveways, which will meet the typical setbacks. The average lot size is just under 9,500 square feet, and the smallest lot that they've planned is 8,527 square feet. The density for the project, if we look at net density, which doesn't include the ponds and stuff like that, it's 3.16 dwelling units per acre. As comparisons, Town Center 1 is a little bit lower at 3.6 dwelling units per acre. Fox Bend is 3.23, and then Edgewater, another subdivision that Lennar participated in, was 3.01. So it's in line with some similar subdivisions of sort of the same vintage of when it was originally planned. I know at the last meeting there was some conversation about anti-monotony, so I wanted to dive into that a little bit more detailed. So if you look at these images that we show, the gray lot is, imagine the one that you're being sold, and then the other ones are the surrounding ones. So in this case, no homes of the same model and elevation, so like a Galveston A or a Galveston B and a Galveston, two Galveston Bs can be located adjacent to one another, across the street from one another, or diagonally across from one another. No homes of the same main color can be in those same areas, with the exception of white houses, because white houses are super popular. So you'll see the little nose with the stars. If they use white house with a different color trim, they're allowed to duplicate white houses, but you can't have two of the same blue house or two of the same gray house across or next to each other. There has to be at least 4 houses separating any identical homes. So say you wanted to build a gray Ontario C, you gotta have at least 4 houses between them. And again, we have the exceptions for houses that are white. No more of 3 homes of the same model can be located adjacent to each other. So say you had an Ontario B, C, and D, they couldn't put them right next to each other. You'd have to put a different type of house in between. And just to give you an idea, these standards are a little bit stricter than we typically see. We did take a dive into our existing standards, and that the houses that were approved in the 90s and the early 2000s had some very general anti-monotony standard about how it can't be barracks-like sameness, and if they're pretty similar, they have to be broken up with different building materials. The subsequent approvals, such as Westminster Gardens, Edgewater, Shorewood, Glen, Fields, and Town Center 1, have a slightly reduced standard that say nothing across the street or right next to it can be the same. This goes a little bit further. And then, just to be honest, the standards in Lake Forest are higher. They're much higher than any of these standards. And then this shows you what the Town Center 1 standards are. So there's a couple more varieties basically for the diagonal houses in Town Center 2. Happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to go through that because I know that there were a bunch of questions last time. Lennar has provided some information about what they expect the houses to sell for. So they expect a pretty even distribution of product mix with about 20 to 25 of each type of house in the subdivision. The lowest base price would be the Sienna Ranch at $443.34 to start, going up to just over $525 as a base price for the Raleigh. They did run some comps with these projected prices. They'll be selling for about $206 a square foot. They look back 24 months from the public hearing, so from December, and Town Center 1, we're selling it at about $168 a square foot, and Fox Bend at about $169 a square foot for the single family. So they're expecting a little bit high per square foot price cost. In terms of who can afford these houses, the average house is about a $480,000 house. They expect that people in the $100,000 to $200,000 household income brackets are the ones who would be most likely to pay the prices for these houses, and those are the 2 largest cohorts in Shorewood. The highest proportions of family make between $100,000 and $150,000, and $150,000 and $200,000. So that should be a house that's affordable by them. They expect about 149 total students, really slightly less because some of them were preschoolers. And then for traffic, they've got their traffic generations there. It's a peak weekday morning hour, it's 101 in and outs per day, and peak weekday evening is 135 for that peak hour. So at the peak hour, we're seeing about 2 cars a minute leaving or going into the subdivision. Because it's a new development, there's gonna be model homes, and there's also gonna be some signage directing people to the model homes. This is all consistent with our code, but just to let you know what to expect, we've kind of outlined that here. They'll be allowed to put a sign up at Winstone and Jefferson, per the code. So they'll start off with the one on the left, which will be sort of a vertical sign announcing that it's coming and that people can sign up for the list to learn more, and then they'll be replacing it with your 10 by 12 sales sign. They'll also have some signs directing you to the model homes. These are 4 by 8 double-sided signs. There will be one at the entrance off of Winstone to the development and one at the model court. And then around the model area and the parking area, there will be some additional signs. So, you know, there's 2 of the ones on the left, 2 of the ones on the right, and 1 of the ones in the middle in front of each model house. They're allowed to have up to 4 model homes. There have been some variances that they've requested. They've got a TCR2 zoning district, which was specifically written for the town center. So there's a couple of exceptions they need to ask for here because they're asking you for specific approvals for this development. The minimum lot size they've called out is 8,527 square feet. The minimum lot width is 68 square feet. Because they're asking you to approve the models, they've asked to delete the requirements regarding the projections of the garages and regarding the sizes of the front porches or balconies. They've asked for some engineering exceptions regarding the radius of the curvature for the street at the entrance. They plan to match what's existing on the other side of Winstone. They also have asked for a modification to the stone base, provided they still meet our standards in terms of strength. They've asked for the approval of the 6 models, the approval of the anti-monotony standards, and they've asked for an exception to put up the little signs that talk about the wetland mixture so people don't think that they can go up and mow that area. In terms of the annexation agreements, there are a few things that it calls out. One is the permission to build the 4 model homes. They want to install an office trailer until they get that first model home open. Allow up to 4 storage trailers, allow dirt stockpiles, which we'd have to look at the locations to make sure they work. They called out how they'll design the pond and then potentially collaborate with the other users to build it all together. They are required to pay the Lake Forest sewer recapture, which now comes to the village. There's a clause in there that requires all public improvements except for the surface course of asphalt, so that final course, to be completed within 3.5 years of the plat approval. There's the requirement to establish an HOA and also a requirement to have an underlying special service area in case the HOA defaults. And also the clause that we sort of mentioned earlier that the ordinances become valid when the land is transferred to Lennar. Dave, do you have anything to add?
I really don't. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions on the annexation agreement?
Are we just waiting for this to be approved for them to close? Is that just the steps? Like, you're planning on closing no matter what, right? As long as this is approved? I think that's my only question.
For the record, I'm Todd Clevin, Vice President of Land Acquisitions. One of our offices reside at, I'm drawing a blank, 1700 East Gulf Road, Suite 11. So we are seeking preliminary approval this evening, in which we'll immediately submit, I think, next week, or February 7th, on final. Once we receive the final, then we'll be closing on the property.
Okay.
All contingent upon the wetland permit. The wetland permit, I think, is expected to arrive June or July. Once that permit comes in hand, or we have a good warm and fuzzy that it's going to be executed, then we'll close on the property.
Okay.
And we have received notice from the Army Corps that they've received the application and are reviewing the application, so we know that at least that's moved forward a little bit in the process.
That's correct.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Just the one, Troy and West, is that?
Troy and Manuka.
Troy and Manuka.
It's the first read, but can we go ahead or no? We can. Council, is this ready to go?
As far as I'm concerned, you know,
Yeah.
from a legal perspective, it's ready to go.
Okay. I think I'd like to get it out of the way.
Make the motion.
Any other concerns or questions?
No, you guys did a good job addressing any of my concerns. I appreciate the anti-monotony standards and how that laid out. I think that's really well. And my question to staff was the enhancements term, where those can be approved by staff, but anything that's a non-enhancement would have to come back to planning and zoning, so I'm good with it.
Right, we had used the word change, and what we really meant was enhancement,
Yeah.
so we were just gonna correct that word. I think we'll leave that up to Attorney Silverman, and then you also were gonna add the dates, updated dates,
Yeah,
right?
it's just on the ordinance approving, just to be clear that it's effective on
Okay. Make a motion to approve an ordinance granting a major amendment to a conditional use for a,
Wrong one, sir. Number 2.
you're right, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Excuse me. I had this one crossed off. I'm getting ahead of myself. Make a motion to approve an ordinance approving and authorizing amendment of annexation agreement and development agreement for Town Center 2 and waive the second read. Now I can cross it off.
Second.
Motion trustee Brockman, second trustee Chapman. Roll call, please.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos,
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Carroll.
Yes.
You can call the mayor on this one too, please.
And Mayor DeVol.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.
Business item number 3 will be consideration for approval of an ordinance granting a major amendment to a conditional use for a planned unit development and approving a preliminary PUD plat for Town Center 2. This item is also up for a first read. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Just a couple of comments, because Natalie covered this pretty well already. We did hold a public hearing, and besides the petitioners, we had 2 people speak from the public. One was preference for hardy board plank on the houses, which we've already considered that, and also a resident asked about the flood water from Town Center 2, and hopefully it will not travel into the Fox Bin, and I think the petitioners covered that very well for her, answered it very well. So comes here with a 5-0 vote, and trustee Selfridge, you have anything to add to that?
No,
Okay.
you got it all.
Okay. Anything else, Natalie, you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on that?
If not,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance granting a major amendment to a conditional use for planned unit development and approving a preliminary plat, PUD plat for Town Center 2 and waive the second read.
Motion trustee Brockman, second trustee Carroll. Roll call, please.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, item number 4 will be consideration for approval of a resolution accepting a final plat of subdivision of the Village Shorewood YMCA. Ms. Engel.
This is really just a housekeeping matter. The plans for the YMCA were approved. In order to accommodate the utilities, we need 4 easements, and this is a plat that approves those 4 easements.
Any questions on that?
If not, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution accepting a final plat of subdivision for Village of Shorewood YMCA.
Second.
Motion trustee Brockman, second trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
All right, item number 5 will be consideration for approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a vacant land sales contract for the sale of village-owned property located at 195 Laura Avenue, Shorewood, Illinois. Ms. Engel.
Thank you. So we had some discussions with the village board about property that we own at 195 Laura Avenue. It's at the corner of Helene. This was property that was acquired in case we needed extra access to the Public Works facility. Public Works facility is no longer located in that location, so we discussed putting it on the market. The property was listed with Jamie Hakey, a local realtor. It was listed at $34,900. In the end, it was a good choice to list it because we had a little bit of a bidding war at the end, and we are coming forward with a proposal to sell the property for $37,000 to Lucina and Olivia Oyerchuk. It's a single-family lot that would be developed according to the R1 zoning standards.
Anybody have any questions on the land sale? Motion?
I'll make a motion for the approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a vacant land sales contract for the sale of village-owned property located at 195 Laura Avenue, Shorewood, Illinois.
I'll second that.
Motion Selfridge, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Amos,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, business item number 6 will be consideration for approval of an ordinance amending Title 10 of the Shorewood Village Code regarding employment agencies. This item is up for a first read. I ask that this only remains at a first read tonight. Trustee Brockman, is there anything you want to touch on with that?
Just a couple of points. We did hold a public hearing for this, and you'll have to refresh my memory, Natalie. I don't believe there was anybody other than the petitioner spoke that evening, or was it?
No, there was nobody who spoke that evening. It was just staff and the commission, and they had recommended approval. We discussed it also at the committee of the whole, and we've amended it a little bit to read employment agencies by appointment only in the B1 district, and also left the proposal to add the definition into the code.
Again, I just ask that this remains at a first read tonight, no action to be taken. Everybody ponder this a little further. Any questions? Anything else you want to discuss on it, or?
No questions.
All right. Moving on to business item number 7. Consideration for approval of a bid award to Joseph J. Henderson and Son for the pumping, receiving station, and underground reservoir project in the amount of $17,998,400 and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Public Works Director Noriega.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is our next phase of our alternative source water program for the construction of our new pumping and receiving station and underground reservoir. The pumping station construction of the pumping station will include 4 high service pumps, new upgraded SCADA system controls, 2-cell, 5 million gallon poured in place reservoir. The station is being designed for our 2050 population and beyond to allow future expansions as Shorewood continues to grow to the west. We anticipate construction to begin this spring after completion of all the requirements of the IEPA SRF loan process. So we have a number of different steps that we have to complete before we can actually start the construction. We are hopeful to complete the project within 18 to 24 months. I like 18 months, but I think by contract they have up to 24 months to complete. Once completed, we'll be putting this into service with our current water distribution system, and then when lake water arrives, we basically just turn the valve and then we will be on lake water. This will allow staff time to work out the bugs, make sure that the system's operating in an efficient manner, and actually have and build knowledge and experience with our staff before we get lake water here. Our budget is going to be allowing almost $24 million for this project. We bid this project. We received 9 bids for this project with Joseph J. Henderson and Son as the lowest responsible bidder, which is approximately 15% below the engineer's estimate of probable cost. Attached in your packet, CBEL has also provided their award recommendation. Tonight, I've also requested Mr. Jacques Plizet and Mr. Brian Welsh to attend, just in case you have any technical questions. They're here to also answer any questions. So we're going to be recommending to the village board accept the bid proposal from Joseph J. Henderson and Son in the amount of $17,998,400 and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Any questions?
4 or 5 comments. I went through the entire packet, and I can't believe the amount of wordage and paperwork for, help me again, Aaron, a disadvantaged
business enterprises.
DBE?
DBEs.
I can't believe the amount of paperwork in here for that. And I guess it's needed because
It's required.
the loan we're getting.
Correct.
Okay,
It all has to do with the funding sources.
Okay.
Certain rules we have to comply with because those loans are coming through the state, through the federal money.
and then I think I read somewhere where they're only going to put up 5% for surety. Does that sound right?
That does sound correct. It's like a 10%, right?
The bid bond is 5%, but there's a payment bond and a performance bond too, that's 100%.
Is that what?
It's 100%.
It is
The payment
100%.
Performance bond is 100%, just the bid bond.
And that's in here somewhere?
Yeah, there'll be separate forms that get executed with the contracts, yeah.
Okay, because I didn't see that 100% deal.
I'm honestly not sure offhand what was in the packet, but I can provide them. They're standard EPA forms that we have to include in. And the bid document was probably 500 pages long that went out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and then, third, we've got this, nice, beautiful receiving station with this clean water in it, and then we've got, I know I'm way ahead of myself here, but that first surge of water from Lake Michigan comes through all those dirty pipes. What do we do with all that water? We sure don't dump that into our receiving station, do we?
We're working,
So, no, with the Grand Prairie, there is going to be a plan to flush that system. So there is actually a plan that's being developed by the design team so that they will be clean water when it finally arrives in this area. So all the pipes that will be constructed will be clean, flush, chlorinated, and tested before we get it.
Well, that will have to be at Shorewood's property line.
That is correct.
So where is that water gonna go?
That's part of the plan that will be developed as part of the design when they construct the big pipes, the 66-inch pipes coming this way.
It'll go to waste.
Yep,
Down the drain?
It'll what?
It'll go discharge to waste probably.
that is correct. They will be constructing the pipes and flushing and cleaning and sampling little by little as they get here.
They'll do it in different sections.
And you got storm sewer out there to handle that?
Well, I'm not part of that actual design team, and I have not seen that actual plan yet, so that is still being developed by the team.
Okay. It's just a concern I had, but,
Yes, sir.
well, thank you, Brian. I didn't see that 100% there. All I saw was 5%, so.
Thank you.
And Jock, thanks for being here, because I know you're very knowledgeable about all this, so good to have you on board for all the questions. That's all I got.
Anybody else have any questions on the receiving station? Not, take a motion to approve.
Okay, I guess I like to spend 18 million.
Sure, go ahead.
Make a,
Your first time.
make a motion to approve a bid award to Joseph J. Henderson and Son for the pumping receiving station underground reservoir project, the amount of $17,998,400, and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents.
Motion trustee Brockman. Second. Second trustee Chapman. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right, item 7's been approved. Moving on to business item number 8 will be consideration for approval of a bid award to Pertano Construction for the water transmission main project in the amount of $4,497,617 and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Back to Public Works.
Thank you again. So again, this is part of the alternate source water program. This project includes construction of the 16-inch water main from our new pumping station all the way up to our Walnut Trails water tower. It's approximately 2 miles of new transmission main that will be constructed. Construction is anticipated to begin in this spring and completed by the end of this year in one construction season. Our fiscal 26 budget request will be approximately $7 million for this project. We received 7 bids for this project with Pertano Construction as the low responsible bid, approximately 32% below the engineer's estimate. Included in your packet, CBEL has also provided their award recommendation for Pertano Construction. We recommend the village board accept the bid proposal and award the contract to Pertano Construction in the amount of $4,497,617 and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Any questions?
Go ahead.
One.
Yeah.
Is this company familiar to other
Oh, yeah,
towns
Yes,
in this area?
Yeah.
they have a lot of work in this particular area. They do work a lot for, I believe, ComEd, Nicor, AT&T, a lot of the utility companies in this area. If you actually drive around in some of the developments, they're the underground contractor for many of the developers. Personally, in my career, I've worked with Pertano at my other career, and even CBEL has worked with them as well.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yeah, they're a big outfit.
Okay.
I'm glad to see that both these projects received 7 to 9 different bids.
Yes.
It was good to see very competitive through the bid process through both these projects, and the fact that they're coming in under budget is definitely a plus.
It's good we got an early start.
100%.
We may not see those numbers down the
So,
road.
anybody else have any other questions on the water transmission main? Not take a motion to approve the water transmission main project.
I already spent enough money.
I'll spend some.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion to consider for approval of a bid award to Pertano Construction Company for the water transmission main project in the amount of $4,497,617 and authorize the execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents.
Motion trustee Chapman,
Second.
second trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Carol,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item
Thank
eight's
you.
been approved. Item number 9 will be consideration for approval of the purchase of park equipment in the amount of $86,990 from Play Powered LT Farmington for our Fawn Park reconstruction project. Public Works.
Thank you again, Mayor. So continuing with our park replacement program, Fawn Park is our next on our list. Located in the Kipling Town subdivision, the park was originally constructed in 2000. The park is dated and is in need of reconstruction. Our design team created 2 concepts for this playground. We held an online survey for our residents to vote and provide input on the designs. With over 200 participants, the option that you see before you was selected as the winner. We are on schedule for a February letting, so the plans are still under concept and still design, and we are putting it together to be able to bid this out. So similar to our past park projects, we're looking to purchase the playground equipment ahead, have it begin put it into order and into hopefully arrive when the contractor's ready to work. Our fiscal 26 budget request allocates $306,000 for the project. If approved, this item will be committed in our future budget and cannot be adjusted or removed. Similar to our past park project, I apologize, I said that already. So we are recommending the village board approve the proposal and purchase from Power Play LT Farmington in the amount of $86,990. Any questions?
Take a motion as read.
Motion as read.
Motion by trustee Amos, seconded by trustee Carroll. Roll call, please.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Carol.
Yes.
All right, business item number 10 will be consideration for approval of the purchase of park equipment in the amount of $20,140.52 from Polygon for the 2025 Fawn Park reconstruction project. Obviously, as Norrell just explained, this is the ongoing project. One other component from another vendor. Anything else you want to add?
Nope. Any questions?
I'll make a motion for the approval of purchase of park equipment in the amount of $20,140.52 from Polygon for the 2025 Fawn Park reconstruction project.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second trustee Luciano. Roll call, please.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
and Chapman.
Yes.
Item 11 will be consideration for approval of a proposal for professional engineering services with Strand and Associates for general engineering services for water sampling, collection, and delivery for a water transfer plan. This is also part of our corrosion study in the amount not to exceed $24,000. Public Works Director Noriega is going to explain this one a little further.
Thank you again. So for our corrosion study, we've been working with Cornwell Engineering and our partners with the Grand Prairie Water Commission to be able to produce this water transfer plan that IEPA is requiring. The first part of the study, Joliet, the city of Joliet has been collecting the needed lake water for all of the commission members. It was very efficient for them to do it for us on behalf of everyone. Now, as each municipality is moving in different phases of our corrosion study, so for us, we have our own study that requires 2 different studies for the north side because it's the shallow wells, and then the south side on the deep wells. It wasn't efficient, or it was very difficult for us to continue, or City of Joliet to continue on supplying the lake water that's needed for each of the municipalities. So we're moving into our own phasing for such. And so with that, because of our own needs for the municipality here with 2 different water sources right now, we have doubled the need for how much lake water is required to be collected and sampled from the city of Chicago and sent to our consultant. So Strand and Associates has been collecting the water on behalf of all of us already, and now they're going to be continuing, with your permission, to collect that for us on our phasing. So the next study for us is to continue for the next 18 months approximately. The collection of the water is not simple small vials of water for them. These are actual 5-gallon that we have to send for each of our sections. So it's not something that is easily sent through mail. It's a big supply of water. So we are recommending approval of Strand's agreement for water sampling, collection, and delivery in the amount not to exceed $24,000. Any questions?
I think I just have, is it 24 grand in total over the 2 years?
Over the 2 years
So-
total, including postage.
Okay, so it's like 12,000 per budget period or something like that?
Approximately.
Okay, okay.
We talked about doing it internally, but trying to collect 25 gallons at a time and then trying to ship it, it became almost cumbersome, but you're losing staff, and this is actually a better deal for us, so.
With that, I'll make a motion for the approval of a proposal for the professional engineering services with Strand Associates for general engineering services for water sampling, collection, and delivery for our water transfer plan corrosion study in an amount not to exceed $24,000.
Motion by trustee Selfridge,
Second.
second trustee Amos. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
Thank you.
And item number 12 will be consideration for approval of an ordinance directing and authorizing the disposal of personal property by the village of Shorewood. Chief Arnold.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure this is familiar to you. We do this a couple times a year. On file is the enabling ordinance that allows the village administrator to dispose of surplus property. Staff has worked diligently to perform the latest cleanup of numerous items to be cleared out of our vaults. In your packet, you have a list of those items. These items have no evidentiary value, and all efforts to return the property to the rightful owners have been exhausted. As in the past, we've utilized thepropertyroom.com for the process, except for firearms that are destroyed by Gunbusters Firearms Pulverization Company. Cell phones are either destroyed through the shredding process or all data certifiably removed and the device factory reset by smartphonerecycling.com. We've maintained a relationship with propertyroom.com as a method to dispose of surplus property since 2009 and Gunbusters since 2016. Smartphonerecycling.com has been a recommended vendor by the International Association for Property and Evidence Managers. We've used them for the last 3 years. All these disposals are in accordance with the Law Enforcement Disposition of Property Act, 765 ILCS 1030, as noted in the Illinois compiled statutes. Staff recommends passage of the ordinance to dispose of the surplus property. Any questions?
Need a motion and then waive the second read, please.
Make the motion to approve the ordinance directing and authorizing the disposal of personal property by the village of Shorewood and waive the second read.
Motion trustee Amos, second by trustee Carroll. Roll call, please.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
Thank you. With that, we'll move into building, or department reports. Building department, Mr. Steriati.
No report.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Engel.
Thank you. A couple of meetings ago, we had a conversation at the Committee of the Whole about gateway signage. Just wanted to follow up on that to let you know that we did hear your questions about, why was the Hunt Club sign so much less expensive than the one we were proposing for the village? So we did look into that, found out that it was in fact due to the size of the sign. So we looked closely at what we could do to maybe reduce the size of the sign a little bit, see if we could squeeze another one out of the budget. So Isabel and Matthew have redesigned the sign a little bit so that it is just a little bit smaller and would actually be the exact same size as Plainfield signs, which we think are pretty legible. So we are working on getting those final bids, and we're planning to come back to you within the next month with a proposal for signs, and we'll also, in the meantime, be reaching out and talking to all the property owners to make sure we have specific locations where we know they can be put up. So that's all I got for today.
Thank you. Finance?
No report. Thank you, Mayor.
And Parks, Ms. Katie.
Good evening. We are excited to announce that we are hosting the Shorewood Shuffle, which is our first ever festive 5K on March 15th, and that will coincide with a Little Leprechaun Dash for kids 12 and under. Registration is now open for that, and details are available on our website. Registration is also open for the Spring Village-wide Garage Sale Weekend that will take place Friday and Saturday, April 18th and 19th, and registration can also be found on our website for that as well. Priority registration for the 2025 Community Garden is open for last year's gardeners, those who had plots in 2024. That will remain open until March 11th, and then open registration for any remaining plots will open thereafter. And then also, don't forget that the ice rink is up and running at Seni's Four Seasons Park, and it's currently open Sunday to Thursday until 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday until 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Police?
No report.
Thank you, sir. Public Works?
No report, sir.
Administrator?
So a couple things. We need to have our budget workshop, looking for commitments. What we're planning to do is at the Committee of the Whole, we'll do a special committee of the Whole on the 11th to cover revenue and capital, and then we would do the normal program walkthrough on Tuesday the 18th, that Tuesday between the two February meetings. If we have enough people here, we're gonna schedule those to have those done. I know Mr. Luciano's had plans to travel, so is anybody else planning to travel? Okay, I'll put those out in a memo or an email to lock those in for calendar invites. Also, over the next couple of meetings, we'll have a couple of things that we've already talked about. We'll talk about the grocery tax and put up an ordinance. Since that's been built into the budget, we won't wait till summer to do that. Since we've made that commitment to do it, we'll go ahead and get that done and out of the way. And also, we'll have another last discussion about the down payment we'll make to the Water Commission. We'll either do that at the next meeting or the first meeting in February. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee comments, over to trustee Amos.
Thank you, Mayor. No comment.
Thank you. Trustee Brockman.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next meeting will be February 5th. Too early for an agenda. And I would like to have a consensus from the board that maybe we need to revisit this plantings along the lakes. We haven't done that for many, many years, and talked to the administrator and the mayor, and they're in agreement that maybe we should have a cow on this. And I would prefer to have it in May or June so we can go out and look at what we've done in the past. I mean, we have lakes like north of People's First Bank, that's been there maybe 15 years, see what it looks like. And here in the town center, longer than that. So I would like a consensus by the board to have included in a committee of the whole. So
We can do that.
When's final engineering estimated?
I mean, it could be as soon as March or April.
So we're gonna wanna have that discussion before we have the final engineering.
It's not gonna impact this project.
They're not gonna dig until July at the earliest. And
That's what we're comfortable with, I just thought we'd wanna have it done before final engineering.
They may need to do some redesign, and maybe, Mr. Noriega, you may be able to better speak to that, about whether it would involve significant redesign of that pond if they were to do no wetland edges.
Well, it would definitely affect the final landscaping.
it would do what?
Affect the final landscaping plan of the project. They do have to meet some Will County and Shorewood BMP requirements for the project, so if we don't put it at the pond, they have to find other locations to be able to provide these required BMPs.
Do we have enough opinion and data living in the village here with the wild look around the lake edges? Do we have enough of that data in our minds right now? We can have that discussion at some point before May or June. I know I can provide some opinions and information. Scott, you live.
You're just referring to like the ponds having the natural bedding?
Scott, do you have some feedback from your community here?
On the ponds, most of the questions, like, it's related to the path and the maintenance of the path, like who cleans the snow on the path.
Yeah.
I think there's always questions about like dandelions, but, you know, the
I've heard
village.
allergies and some people complain, I think you've mentioned.
They don't like the
somebody has,
dandelions, but
yeah.
it's also the village not using like chemicals, right, on the grass and to get it in the water, I believe, is part of the reason why you can't always treat it.
So I guess my question is do we actually need to see some of this stuff standing, growing in the spring, late spring, or can we have a good discussion before then?
You might wanna see it, cause where tall grasses are and where it's not. I know this pond, like, there's some areas where there's tall grass that grows, and then some people cut it down, right, to access it for fishing and whatnot.
Well, we'll leave it up to you,
We'll work on it.
Administrator, when you think. I just thought that if the board had a chance to go out and inspect what we've got, you know,
No, I understand completely, so we'll get back to you.
the main thing is to maintain the bank. You know, that's our main concern, I think. We need to talk about that, and I hope everybody agrees that we could bring that back to the committee of the whole sometime.
We will bring it back.
Yeah, we'll bring it back, that way everybody can talk about it, a little more of an open forum about that look and what needs to be done.
All right, that's my report, thank you.
No worries. Trustee Carroll?
No comment.
Thank you. Trustee Chapman?
Just want to thank everybody tonight. I believe we made history between Mr. Brockman and myself. We asked the board to authorize over $24 million in expenditures. 30 years ago, we argued for 2 hours over $1,300, so 23 million seems like a mark, right?
That's unbelievable.
That's the standard, okay?
Yep.
But necessary, so
Absolutely.
it's a good move forward.
No, it's, glad that we're moving that forward, so thank you. Trustee Luciano?
Citizens Advisory Committee will be meeting January 23rd. Anyone interested in getting involved with the committee can contact myself or any other board member through our information on the village website. That's all.
Thank you. And Trustee Selfridge?
I have one question, do we have an update on the property north of Village Hall? I thought there's.
The 40?
Yeah, the 40 acres, I think that's being approved.
Yeah, that's coming over. The sale completed.
The transfer's been completed,
Yeah.
so now we have to have, as I said, there's people that have, according to the annexation agreement, there's people that were obligated to transfer land to, specifically Troy schools. So we're also concerned about the extension of Windstone. So I met with the engineers and staff tonight about how much land we need. We need to talk to Dave about how we orient that and then have a proposal to reach out to the farmers to buy a small piece of land so we can extend Windstone forward. Then we can have a discussion about where the school will get the obligatory land that's over there, and then we get the balance of the land.
Right. So we need all those pieces in place before it comes to the village board?
Yes. Well, the sale, well, our purchase of land to buy that triangle will be there. The transfer's done. We
The
now have
transfer's
that.
done. Okay.
That's concluded.
Okay.
Now it's what will we do with it? That will come before the board.
Okay, I remember they were working on the paperwork, I didn't know if that was coming to us, or, so.
No, that was set, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 2005 annexation agreement set the obligation there. We've executed that obligation before the annexation agreement. We now have ownership of that land. That's been
Correct.
transferred,
Okay.
okay? Now it's just what will we do with it, but we had to work on, there was an old plan for Windstone Drive, now we've updated that. We gotta work on an acquisition of some land to bring that to fruition. We'll bring that to you, as well as what we'll do with the balance of the 48.
There'll be another small piece that we will need to purchase to be able to get Windstone through.
How much of that are we obligated to give to anyone?
Right now, I believe the annexation agreement says that Troy Schools is we're obliged to give them 15 acres. But they have some plans, they have some thoughts. When we talk to them, they may want some more. That's all part of the mix, so
No, I
we'll
just
bring it.
want to know what we were obligated at this point to give.
We'll bring it all back to you
Yeah,
with
they're-
some ideas, okay?
Okay.
But then, yeah, then we're just, like I said, once engineering's working on what we need to bring Windstone through, how that road looks, so.
That's all, thank you.
Yep, no worries, thank you. And there'll be no executive session tonight. With that, I thank everybody for coming back. First meeting in January 2025. Should be an eventful year. And with that, motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by trustee Amos, second by trustee Chapman. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Luciano. Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right.